Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
Every now and then you hear a story about someone who is black saying, I was driving along and I got pulled over by police because I'm black. And they refer to that as driving while black, as if that is an offense for which you can be pulled over. And, stories like that, you always wonder, how would you ever prove such a thing? But here's an interesting one from Kansas City, stories from the Kansas City Star. Sean sent it to me. He was a detective with the Kansas City Police Department, and he still got pulled over for driving while black. So if somebody would know, you'd think it would be another police officer. So Glenn Rice and Luke Nozick wrote this for the Kansas City Star. The man's name is Herb Robinson, and he said that twice in his 30-year-long police career, he's been fearful for his life. Once he was shot in the line of duty, and the other came when he was pulled over last year by two fellow Kansas City police officers who did not know who he was. He says it was plainly racial profiling. Now, he was in uniform. He was driving a police car, but it was unmarked. And the police pulled him over on March 11th of last year. He says they pulled him over for nothing because they never said why they pulled him over. And as he confronted the officers, he says he understood better than ever the experience of black citizens dealing with white police. He worried that if he reached into the car to get his ID, he might get shot. I'm like that deer in the headlights, he recalled. My heart's racing and pounding. I'm like, what are you going to do next? He's 59 years old. He's a detective at the time in the Kansas City Police Department. He's in the Violent Crimes Intelligence Squad. He was heading to an off-duty job and driving south on Blue Ridge Boulevard on the outskirts of Kansas City when he was pulled over. He opened his car door and stepped outside in a blue shirt and navy pants, and the two officers moved towards him. One of the officers said, "Holy S," as he looked at Robinson. "First of all, I don't know why you're jumping out like that on us." Now, Robinson believed the stop was illegal. He thought that he would not have been pulled over had he been white. It's an experience many people of color in Kansas City feel, targeted by the police department meant to serve them. Black drivers are more likely to be stopped by KCPD officers, and during those stops are more likely to be arrested than white drivers. That's according to data compiled by the Missouri Attorney General's office. Not even being a veteran of KCPD protected Robinson from being harassed. So now I will tell you that some people are going to say, Steve, you shouldn't have gotten out of the car. And believe it or not, when I was in driver's ed, which I admit was last century, they actually told us, get out of the car and walk back and talk to the police officer. But that changed. And I remember when they started saying, do not get out of your car. Stay in your car, put your hands where they can be seen, maybe turn the dome light on if it's night. But just don't move, stay in the car, wait till they approach you, then talk to them. Okay? So this guy did get out of the car. But of course, he's a detective. He works with the same department that these guys work for. He's in a uniform they should recognize as being one of their own. Dashcam video of the stop was obtained by the Star and shown that footage. Civil rights activists, police experts, and academics in law and racial profiling said the stop was an outrageous example of a toxic racist culture in the department. Black officers say that it's a problem that has only grown under Police Chief Rick Smith's tenure. Robinson's traffic stop was discovered as part of a year-long investigation into racism in the KCPD. More than 24 current and former black officers recounted such stories of facing discrimination, harassment, and abuse from their colleagues. KCPD declined to make the officers available for comment about the traffic stop. They are assigned to the Patrol Bureau and have been with KCPD since 2018. The sergeant, who is a spokesperson for the KCPD, said the video was not produced or provided by KCPD as part of a public records request. As such, we cannot validate this video, nor do we have any response. Months after the stop, Robinson said the experience remained troubling. He could not articulate the magnitude of its effect. So I'm that person now. He said, I understand the protests. I understand what people are saying. I never imagined on this department I would experience that from my own. So here's what happened. The officers were in a right turn lane, but decided to go straight through an intersection and follow Robinson when he passed them. They drove past a sign that welcomed drivers to Raytown. After following Robinson for nearly a mile, The officers activated their lights and their siren. Robinson pulled over and stepped out of the car. The officers moved toward him and told him his plates don't come back to anything. They ran his plates, they don't come back to anything. Robinson was, of course, driving an unmarked police vehicle, and had they checked who owned it, it would have come back as being a Kansas City Board of Police Commissioners vehicle. That's who was listed as the owner of these vehicles. "Where are you headed, bro?" one of the officers asked Robinson. "Where are you headed, bro?" "Bro," responded Robinson, who thought the word was disrespectful. He then said, "I'm Detective Robinson." "Don't do that to us," the other officer said. "Chill the F out." And he didn't use the letter, he said the word. "Chill the F out." Robinson said again, "I'm in a police uniform." The officer then asked, "I don't know who you are. You said Detective Robinson?" And he said, "Yeah." "Cool, man, all right, have a good night." And they let him go. As they headed back to their car, they could be heard calling him a effing dumbass and an effing. Unfortunately, I had to bleep the second of those two words. You probably saw me thinking there. Do I have to bleep that? Do I redo that? What do I do that? Unfortunately, I've got to bleep it. But it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-letter word, starts with R, ends with a D, and is not considered acceptable in polite conversation. The Star shared the video of the stop with policing experts and community activists who said they were concerned by the way the officers treated one of their own. Brandon Davis, an assistant professor at the University of Kansas whose research focuses on race, said the stop appeared to be totally unnecessary and motivated simply by who was driving the car. Officers, he said, then blamed Robinson for their violation of his rights. The officers are the only ones in the video who violated any traffic laws by going straight out of a turn lane to follow the car. And of course, police are not above the law. So the story goes on and on. It's a 4-page story, at least in this iteration. And the gist of the story is the guy is a 59-year-old detective with the police department driving an unmarked car while he's in uniform. And he drives by another police car. And they see him go by and go, let's follow him. So they pull an illegal move in traffic, and they follow him for a mile where they run his plates, and the plates don't come back to anything, which you'd think they might recognize one of their own unmarked cars, but I guess that's, maybe it's really well unmarked. So then they pull him over, lights and sirens, and when he gets out, the first reaction is like, "Dude, why are you jumping out on us?" And he's like, "I'm a detective. I work with you guys. We all work for the same place." And then they're like, "Oh, what an effing idiot. What an effing, And we've talked about this before, that in the old days, go back to the 1940s, you and I both know, the police got away with a lot of stuff. We didn't do that. What are you talking about? 4 officers here all say nothing happened. Some guy comes to the station, he's all beaten up. He says the cops beat me up. We don't know what he's talking about. When we found him, he was like that. So with the ubiquity of cameras, video cameras everywhere, including in the police cars and on their own bodies, you'd think that by now they realize you can't say stupid stuff during a traffic stop because that will live to haunt you. So effing dumbass and effing, those things are being recorded. And I've said before the phrase, a trap for the stupid. That's what those body cameras are. They know it's on them. They know it's being recorded, and they still say this stuff. And, chill the F out. And where are you headed, bro? The guy's a detective with 30 years of experience. And he's got to stop for a couple of yahoos who've been working for the department for a couple of years, asking him where he's headed, bro. And I don't mean to laugh at it, because on many levels this is not funny. But at least on one level it is. Because you think of these 2 cops acting like this, seemingly oblivious to the fact that it's all being recorded and all going to wind up on the front page of a paper somewhere down the road. So it's a crazy story. And like I said, I've heard stories, driving while black. I've heard the stories. I've seen the stories. Sometimes they make the news. And we always suspect that that's what's happening. But But the police can often come up with some other excuse to why they pulled somebody over. We thought his license plate light was dim. We thought one of his turn signals was out. Here, the guy who got pulled over is a detective with 30 years of experience. And he goes, that's why I was pulled over. And if there's anybody who would know, I think it would be him. So I got to say, yeah, I think that guy was pulled over driving while black. And we'll see what happens because this is making headlines right now. So stories from the Kansas City Star. Sean sent it to me. Thanks a lot. And I will update you if more happens. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law.
If you're going to do the wrong thing, do it the right way.